Thank you. First, if I could start by offering everybody in the room here my condolences. I can tell you as a prosecutor, which brings me into contact with a lot of these types of cases, I'm perhaps as aware as anybody of the tragedy that you're all facing and the difficult road that you have to navigate as you go through the justice system in dealing with a matter that has ultimately resulted in charges. I'll first maybe start by saying that they listed me as defense and Crown. I'm actually the regional Crown Counsel for the Frasier region. I manage the criminal prosecutions of all kinds, from New Westminster to Boston Bar. We deal with a population area of 1.7 million, and currently we are about a third larger than the next nearest region in the province, so we certainly are dealing with the highest volume of criminal activity in the province, and definitely amongst the highest in the country. As a regional Crown Counsel, I have a variety of roles in addition to managing all of the criminal prosecutions. I'm also a wiretap agent, and I work in major crime at the charge assessment stage. So as such, I'm working very frequently with the police at the investigative stage whilst investigations into the culpability of various individuals who might be brought to be responsible for homicides. My role will typically go through the investigative stage. Most often I am working with Jennifer's group, IHIT, although we do in the Frasier region have one small police department, that's Delta, who is not yet a part of IHIT. They have a very adept and fine group of major crime investigators with whom we also work.
We don't have any major crime in Delta.
There's very rarely any major crime in Delta, so in any event, my typical involvement, as I say, might start with a phone call from a major crime team leader, an IHIT team leader, who will ask me to become involved with an assessment of the evidence in a particular case. Homicides come in all different types, all different forms. Some are very quick, the investigations, some are extremely lengthy. For instance, I received such a call last Friday after returning from Ottawa, and by 4 o'clock I was in the Mission RCMP detachment, and by midnight charges had been laid. Other investigations start and finish months from one another. All depends on the circumstances, what the evidence happens to be in a particular investigation, and complexity of various issues that come along. As Crown Counsel, my role really is threefold. Firstly, all prosecutions are undertaken with the view of protecting the public. We are most interested in ensuring that the persons who are responsible for these events are no longer a continuing threat to the community. Secondly, we are there to hold people accountable and ensure that there is justice given for the community. And the community includes, of course, the families and the victims of all crimes. Our work is done not just for the victims and the families of the victims, but particularly for the families and the victims, because those are the people that we most often work directly with, and during a prosecution are dealing with and trying to explain different processes as we go through. We also have a responsibility to ensure that the process that we undertake in prosecuting a homicide or any other offense for that matter is conducted fairly. And in Canada and in all Commonwealth-based jurisdictions in most Western world countries, there is a legal tradition that requires a high degree of proof to be offered to a court prior to a person being convicted. There are rules in place that limit our ability to conduct prosecutions, or at least impact our abilities to conduct prosecutions, and those rules relate to things like admissibility of evidence. They relate to what types of evidence we're able to use in a given case, and there are certain safeguards that are prevalent throughout a prosecution designed to ensure that when somebody is ultimately convicted of a crime, that the court is certain beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a very, very high standard of proof, and Jennifer touched on this when she talked about what the Crown looks at when we are laying a charge in a given case. We're looking at a slightly different standard of proof, and that's Jennifer referred to as a substantial likelihood of a conviction. What that really means is that when I am asked to approve a charge, whether it be murder or anything else, I have to be satisfied that there is a solid case of substance that is likely to result in the conviction of an accused individual. That's a high burden, and to that end, I'll just say a few things about the police services that are serving your communities throughout British Columbia, but particularly in my neck of the woods. I can say without any hesitation that the dedicated individuals who are working at IHIT are amongst the best in the world. I have had the pleasure of being involved with such fine people, and I want to just say in terms of what you see on the side as families of people who have had their lives taken, it may at times be very frustrating. It may at times be that you don't have or we don't share all of the information or the facts with you. But we have experienced police officers, dedicated police officers, people who, as Jennifer pointed to, really take these cases personally, and they put everything that they've got into these cases.